Sister Eunice, sorry. Yeah, mom pie na AFA, wet me ashasi. Nyame kronkron nenso oma ye sign ede aseda ma odin bio se wadum ti. Uhwe yen so na otwe ashasi de bedru ne. Na wasan ma yakwanya se ye metoa yenkita ho a ya yedi no na otwe bia wo abusua adesua mu. Yeah, that was a set nowadays in your by Eunice assign a basso medi any more addition. Yes, Ranyans and near Horden, their man said, Faneso, Nene, the over my eno, Famayina, El Christo Jesu Diamonti. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. You see, Sabrady at me, Jamwa, Mewaha, I know, sir. I'll be here to help with the PowerPoint.
Okay. Thank you so much, our brother Patrick, Pastor Moi, and all of those who have joined the line. Wait a minute, Pamacho. I hope they're okay. Hopefully, if someone doesn't understand, we can try and translate a little bit, but forgive me. So yes, once again, I'm grateful to be on this line this evening. It's such a blessing to know that our community has something like this, enrich our families. I think as Ghana Forno, we need to learn different ways and different skills to help us grow as a community and help us to be better. And believe it or not, if you interact with other cultures, not a lot of people have programs like this consistently every week, where we talk about ways to uplift our families, enrich our families, and allow God to lead our homes. And so I'm so grateful to be a part of such a ministry, or to join you all in this ministry. So thank you so much for allowing me to come on, and we pray that God continues to lead us all as we search, or as we gain strength to join his kingdom one day. So we can go ahead and pull up the slide. Okay. So thank you so much. So our title for this evening is The Role Mental Health Plays in Our Families. We have about 12 people on the line. I always tell people, say, I'm not a professor, I'm not a teacher, but I really like to, I think I personally learn best from other people as well. And so there will be some points or some parts where I'll probably just ask a few questions, and then maybe if someone has an answer, they can answer it, probably just one or two, not a lot, but it would be great to get our audience participation, just because we know that we can learn. I can learn from you all while you all are learning from me as well. So just a little bit of background about myself. As mentioned, my name is Eunice Boffour, and I reside in Maryland. And I am a licensed clinical social worker, also licensed independent, same thing. The I simply means independent. I can work independently from a supervisor or such, provide mental health diagnosis specifically to members. I provide therapy as well, counseling to a lot of individuals with various mental health disorders, such as major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, and things of that nature. I currently work for Aetna Health Insurance, where I focus more on quality management and ways to improve the services that we provide to our members. So just a little bit background about myself. Don't want to talk too much about me. It's not about me. So the title, once again, of our program today, or our topic today, is The Role Mental Health Plays in Our Community. And I must say, growing up in a Ghanaian community, Seventh-day Adventist Christian, 10, 20 years ago, I don't think mental health was something that we talked about a lot. Usually, if you're feeling sad, go pray about it, right? Or if you're feeling anxious, drink warm tea or something, and you'll be okay, right? When it comes to mental health, it's just not a topic that we discussed. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic hit, right? And everyone needs counseling now. Say the obiaya, depressed, anxiety, nervous, all of these things are coming up. And so for a lot of people, we're constantly hearing about mental health. And some people may feel, say, oh, it's too much, we don't need it. Okay, right? We don't need to, we can pray about it and God will take care of all of our needs. And yes, I agree. God will definitely take care of all of our needs. But God has also instilled professionals like myself and other professionals, just like a doctor you will go see for high blood pressure or diagnosis that you will have. There are mental health providers that can really help and support you in dealing with issues. And believe it or not, a lot of the stressors that we go through is a result of how we grew up or the homes that we grew up in, right? And sometimes we don't talk about it because we are shy, right? There's some things that are happening in our home we just don't talk about. And I'm not here to say, oh, go and tell everyone your business. No, that's not the case. I would say don't tell people your business, especially if you know, said these are people that will not support and help you. But finding professionals, finding a support system in your community and in your church to help and uplift you and work towards creating better mental health for you, your mother, father, children, things like that is highly, highly imperative. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next slide, which says, and I'm going to second here. Okay, so we're going to define mental health according to the American Psychological Association. Mental health simply means a state of mind characterized by emotional well-being, good behavioral adjustment, relative freedom from anxiety, disabling symptoms, and a capacity to establish constructive relationships and cope with the ordinary demands and stressors of life. So simply put, having a healthy mental health or having strong, good mental health is being able to emotionally participate in healthy relationships, having good behaviors. Let's say there's a stressor that happens, you lose your job. For many people, believe it or not, they can fall into a state of depression. And we'll talk a little bit more about what depression looks like and things like that, but it is very, very real. I just want to make sure that I get the point. If you didn't take anything away from this program today, I just want you all to know that mental health is real. And if our mental health is not strong, our physical health will also not be strong as well. So let's go on to the next slide. And over here, we want to chat a little bit, right? So I'm going to pause and throw out a question out there, and I can answer it first if you want me to, but if someone wants to start first, that'll be good. So let's chat a little bit. What is your family makeup look like, and what does family mean to you? I'm going to give you just a few seconds if somebody wants to answer that question. I can start if you want me to, and then we can go on from there just so you have an idea of what answer we're looking for. But anyone want to, what does family look like to you? I'm sorry to, yes. So what does your family makeup look like, and what does family mean to you? Okay. Oh, somebody, okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I'm, yeah, and now make us say, family makeup, no, yeah. Wine, and about together, it me kind of say a family in maybe our lives, you know. Maybe I would say, as we know, family can be what we call the nuclear, which is the small one, and then the extended entity, depending on which type of idea OBA looking. My family is made up of me, maybe my wife and children. My family is made up of me, my wife, my children, my mother, my father, and everyone involved. So maybe that's what I want to say.
Perfect. And then what does it mean to you besides the family makeup? What does family mean to you?
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, me as a person, personally, family means everything to me. As we all know, I came from somebody, maybe my mom and dad came together and they brought me up. And as a result, they mean everything to me. Me being grateful to them for bringing me up to this level or to this world, and bringing maybe my siblings around makes my life not boring. I have people that I can interact with. So family means a lot. If I go out and I come back home sad, it's family that is going to help me, ask me what's wrong. So it's everything basically that makes my life a whole.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very nice. It looks like someone else has their hand up, Daniel.
Daniel. First let me allow Daniel to be able to. Okay, Daniel, now you can unmute. Okay.
Thank you. Well, the particular thing I was going to say, but family makeup is one family who are together as one. It's part of a family. For example, if you and your family are going outside, it's the same thing, like hanging out. That's part of the family makeup. For example, me and dad, in the past, me and dad used to go outside to eat time. It's part of family. And for example, I'll say another thing about makeup. You and your family hang out, pray together, do everything together. That's part of it too. That's what I'll add to that too.
Okay, thank you so much. What you said something and it reminded me of the saying, a family that prays together stays together. And I like that a lot. So yeah, I think what everyone said is perfect. So if I was to answer the question, I will also just piggyback off of what everyone said. Family is myself, my husband, my child, my parents, my siblings, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And then what family means to me, I think, as everyone said, it means everything. Genuine connection, just a genuine love for each other, people that care about us and we care about them. And also it means strength and a small heaven on earth, right? A lot of people can't say that about their family, unfortunately. A lot of us grew up in homes that were very toxic and cause a lot of other stressors. And so it ends up becoming a cycle. They start to create a family that reflects what their previous family looked like, right? Or they put their foot down and break that cycle and try not to allow their home to look like what it looked like in the past. So family could mean so much to people. And I think one of the main goals, I'm sure one of the main goals for this ministry is to enrich our families, right? Is to break those generational curses, break those cycles that has caused us so much stressors over the years, that has caused our children to have so much pain and things of that nature. So thank you so much for participating. I think that's helpful to understand how genuine and loving our families are supposed to be to us. So we'll go on to the next slide here, which says what Christ wants the family to look like. Obviously, Christ is simply an example of what our home should look like. And Colossians 3:13 says, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint, and I'm going to repeat that, if anyone has a complaint against another, even as Christ forgave you, so you also must do. So I'll let that settle settle in a little bit. I think those words are so strong and pure, right? How many times are we upset about things that a family member did to us, but we don't want to say anything and we just keep it in us, and it festers and it becomes very toxic once again. And then we build this hatred, this feeling that Christ did not instill in us for our family members. And God is telling us to draw away from that. Forgiveness is so important. And believe it or not, forgiveness can cause a lot of positive mental health, a resort of positive mental health, right? When someone does something to you, instead of holding on to it, forgiving them and allowing it to, letting it go can really allow you to have a better mental health. And then 1 Timothy 3:4-5 says, he must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him, and he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own home or his own family, how can he take care of God's church? I love that chapter or those verses so much, because how many times, right? And I want to be transparent and I want to be honest, right? How many times do we see broken homes in our in our churches? We have a lot of elders. We have a lot of significant people in our churches that have broken homes, right? How can we take care of our church if our homes are broken? How can we take care of God's church if we're having issues in our homes, right? We have a lot of couples that come to church and don't even want to sit next to each other, right? I don't want to step on any toes here, but I just want to share the reality of how much these things are playing a huge role in our families and is spilling over to our churches, right? I remember during the pandemic, so many people were itching to go back to church because they didn't understand what it means to spend time with your family on the Sabbath, right? And God wants that for us, especially as Sabbath keepers. Your family is the most important thing to you, and then the church, right? If your home is good, the church will look good. So the Bible shares that with us, and I'm so glad that these verses are available to us to express how important it is to take care of our family. So we're going to go on to the next slide, and we're going to look at what family is, right? We talked about it. We see how important it is. So according to the American Psychological Association, again, a family, or family is a kinship unit consisting of a group of individuals united by blood or marital, adoptive, or other intimate ties. Although the family is the fundamental social unit of most human societies, its form and structure vary widely. There are biological families, there are extended families, there is the nuclear family, permeable family, and then the step family. So we know that all of our families look different. It doesn't mean that because the person in your home is not a blood relative, it doesn't mean that they're not family, right? A lot of times our blood relatives are the ones that don't feel like family. Sad to say, right? But it does look like that for many people. And then we have step families, we have blended families. Our family makeup looks different for so many people, right? And so let's be mindful of that, especially when we're working with young people at church. If your family may seem perfect, don't think that the children that you're working with have that same family makeup as you do, right? And then there's no family that's perfect. We're trying to achieve perfection by God's grace, but we're not there yet, at least for some people. At least for me, I'll speak for myself. We're not there yet. And so let's be mindful of how we communicate with our young people, because a lot of kids, especially our young people, are dealing with a lot. And then our adults as well. A lot of our homes, we have a lot of things in our homes that we're dealing with. Okay. So let's go on to the next slide. And we're going to talk about something very briefly. One of the things that stuck out to me when I was in my graduate program, for many people who are in this field or in counseling or in psychology, there's a specific theory called the attachment theory, right? I'm not going to get into too much of it, but just to talk about how that plays a role in our home. So the theory of attachment was originally developed by John Bowlby. He lived from 1907 to 1990, and he was a British psychoanalyst who was attempting to understand the intense distress experienced by infants who had been separated from their parents. So Bobley observed that separating infants would go to extraordinary lengths, right? These children, he would watch these children interact with their parents, and he will tell their parents, let's say a baby, he will tell them, make a blank face and see the response of your child. Hide in front of a paper or something and see the response of your child. And mind you, these are little children, because he wanted to observe how important the attachment is between the parent and the child. So when he would do this, of course, you'll see the children crying or getting very clingy or frantically searching for their parent because they don't know where their parent is. So to prevent separation from their parents or to establish proximity to a missing parent, he will want them to observe how they interact with each other. So I brought this to our attention because a lot of times, especially back to our Ghanaian home, the relationships that we have with our parents are not as connected sometimes, right? And this is not for everyone's home, right? I just want to give us some example. Naturally, as Africans, when it comes to that emotional side, we're not really there yet, right? So sometimes I knew some people that would run away when their father comes, or like when they hear the garage open, they will run to their room because they know, said daddy, but yeah, we got to take care of our homework. We got to do this. We got to do this. And it was even hard for the family to even say hello to each other when they enter into the home. Right. And so this just reminds me of how that has also played a significant role on how we raise our children now. Right. It's so much. It spills over into our families and how we interact with them. And believe it or not, that emotional connection that we don't have, or that we avoid, or that we just don't understand, can also play a role in our children's mental health as well, right? Because when they go to school, they will also not understand what it means to interact with other people, because they lived in a home where that didn't happen. Right. And so they start to be exposed to other things. And then next thing you know, they don't want to be home anymore because they want what their friend is having. When my friends and parents come home, they give them a hug, they say hello, they have dinner, but everyone is in their room. No one interacts with each other. All I have to do is bring home good grades and that's it. Right. And so we hear that a lot in the families or in the homes that we interact with. So we're going to go on to the next slide. And it talks a little bit about the pros and cons to different parenting styles. So just to piggyback off of the attachment theory, this helps us just looking at the positives and negatives to how we interact with our children plays a big role, right? And those are some of the things that Bobley did intense research on. Now, attachment theory is a theory, right? It doesn't mean that everyone's home is like this, right? It's just helping us understand how this can relate to the relationships that we have in our home. So we have positive behaviors. When you're able to interact positively with your children, the child prefers to be around you rather than strangers. Child looks for comfort in their parent. Child welcomes and engages you after you're absent. And child is confident and becomes very independent because they know, my parent loves me so much, and so nobody can tell me what to do, right? If there's a lack of trust or lack of relationship with you and your child, they're going to seek that from someone else, right? And then we wonder why our children becomes promiscuous, or they want to hang out with their friends all the time because their friends are giving them the attention they need, and maybe they're not getting that at home, right? And so negative behaviors, we see that child has a lack of boundaries. Boundaries is like a whole nother topic in itself, right? The children just don't know how to separate themselves, like their personal life from their school life, from their church life, and things of that nature. Child constantly feels rejected. They feel the child has like unrealistic expectations for themselves. And then of course, the lack of trust. And if they don't trust you, they're not going to trust their church leaders, right? Especially as youth leaders, we want to gather our young people, we want to do activities with them, but a lot of times they don't have a connection with anyone in their home. So it's so hard for them to come to church and start to build a connection with someone else. And so everything starts from home. Yes, our church is a foundation, it's helpful, it's supportive, but our home is number one. And then we look at the church. If we see that our home is clean and healthy and strong, we see that that plays into our church. So what are some of the things that we have to be cautious of? Lack of communication with family members in most Ghanaian homes, right? And I'm sorry, I know that there's probably other cultures, maybe that will come on the line, but I'm talking specifically about our Ghanaian homes, right? A lot of times we don't engage with our families the way we should. You know, things are changing now. I think the pandemic has opened our eyes to see how important it is to communicate effectively, because we know and we've seen that a lot of our children have become very anxious. They've become very depressed, things that we don't want to see, but unfortunately we're seeing that, right? And so some examples, child starts to struggle in school. Instead of getting to the root of the issue, parent would accuse them of not studying hard enough. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. Someone brings home an 85 and the parent is just so upset they should have gotten 100. Well, let's talk about the reason why they got an 85. What was it that happened the night before the exam, right? What was it that took place? Maybe there was something that they just couldn't remember or they didn't understand, right? Instead of having those conversations, we're quick to judge them. We're quick to accuse the children of what they're doing and vice versa, right? Our children are not I'm not going to leave our kids out, because our kids can be very brutal and abusive to their parents as well. That's probably a whole nother topic also. But instead of accusing them of their bad grade, uplift them. You got an 85. I'm so happy that you got this 85. You did a great job, but there's always room for improvement. So what can we do next time so that you can get a 95? What can you do next time so that you can get 100? Open communication is one of the healthiest ways to build our homes and to build our families. So we're going to go on to the next slide, which talks a little bit about the father and the mother's role in the home. So we have, and I combine these because we live in a society where mom goes to work, dad goes to work, right? In most homes, right? It's not always like that, but now in this 20th century, 2023, mom is working full-time, double, triple. Dad is working also. Both are breadwinners. Physical upkeep, mom and dad are keeping up with everything in the home. Mom has to deal with childbirth. The parent has to deal with caregiving, finding daycare. I can't tell you enough how many families have issues with finding a good provider for their kids. And then sometimes because of the extra work that they take on, right, they end up giving their child to someone who is raising their child in a negative way. So that's also a very, very big thing that can cause a lot of breakdown in homes as well. We put this pressure on a caregiver, a babysitter, to take care of your child while you're working. Don't get me wrong. I know it's hard now. Inflation is real. You know, the cost of living is a lot. Grocery store, you go to the grocery, something that was $10 before is now $20, $30. So I totally get it. But we still have to be mindful that allowing other people to take care of our child is not a bad thing, but doing our research and knowing whoever is taking care of our child is someone who is faith-based and someone who you can really rely on. If not, sacrifices have to be made, right? We are investing in our children. Our children are not investing in us. We don't have children so that they can take care of us later on. If they want to, fine. That's another hot topic. If they want to take care of us when we get older, no problem. That's totally fine. However, that shouldn't be their responsibility. We need to invest in our children. So if I have to take out an extra down payment or whatever it is to make sure that my child is supported and get their needs met, I have no choice. I have to do it for my child. So the pressure, there's a lot of pressure. between moms and dads. So when mom and dad is having issues, then it trickles over to their children. The children see, and you'll be surprised. A lot of people think, say, you're arguing in a room, your child doesn't know. They know. They know, they hear it, they feel it, they know when mom and dad are having issues. And so that ends up playing a big role into the children's life, and then also plays a role into the marriage, right? Then mom and dad are having conflict, turmoil in their marriage that is also reflecting in their family as well. Moms are giving birth and dealing with postpartum stress, right? And so that is definitely something that we don't really talk about in our community. Postpartum stress, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety is also something that unfortunately is hard to control, right? Because your hormones as a mother is all over the place, especially after giving birth. The reality of taking care of another life is not easy. I know that, especially as Africans, we're known to have babies, as many babies, have so many babies, right? But that also comes with a consequence. Our bodies change and our bodies go through so much, right? And so after you give birth, there's so many things that are happening internally, emotionally, physically, and that also plays a role in your marriage, which then reflects onto your children as well. So being mindful of that is imperative. So I know we're a little time crunch, but we're going to go on to the next slide here, where it talks about some of the contributing factors that lead to mental health issues in our homes, right? A lot of us, especially during the pandemic, lost your job, had to take a pay cut. That is huge, huge. We can't live without money, right? And so when this pandemic happened, we saw, especially in my practice, in work, I saw a lot of families just starting to separate because of job security, lack of income, lower income, things of that nature. Then we have discord in relationship, in marriages, parent and child. A lot of our young people are going through low self-esteem. They don't love themselves. No one ever tells them they're beautiful. And so they have these emotional or low self-esteem factors that contribute into negative mental health, right? Where depression eventually develops and things of that nature. And then as we talked about postpartum stress, immigration status, how many people do we know are separated because of immigration status? Your wife is in Ghana, your husband is in Ghana, or mom and dad are in the US, children are in Ghana, and it's just so hard to bring them here. I can't tell you how much homes have been broken because of this, and definitely plays a role in mental health. So we have the emotional and physical, verbal and financial abuse, especially we see this all the time, but we don't ever talk about it, but it's there. And then another big thing that we're seeing a lot, unfortunately, is medical illness, right? Loss of a significant other due to illness. The person may be alive, but unable to care for themselves. That also plays a huge role in the caregiver's life, right? And the person that is sick as well. A lot of anxiety can come from having to care for that person, that significant other that's ill. And then the person who is ill just is unable to care for themselves. And so that also can cause a lot of depression and anxiety and things of that nature. And of course, death in the family. And then one of the most significant things is a family history of mental health issues, right? Sometimes in Ghana, we see a lot of people on the streets and they're looking like they're not clean or they're not taking care of themselves. And we just put a title on them, right? But that's not really the case. They could be really they could have some mental health issues. For example, schizophrenia is big and is a genetic issue that plays a role in families. Definitely. I've seen it and I've heard it of a family member having schizophrenia. Then the next generation, we don't see it that much. Then the next generation, we see it in 1 or 2 children. And this is not clinically diagnosed until maybe after 18 or so. So this child's could be experiencing schizophrenia and not even know that this is what they're experiencing. And so that's very, very huge. And so we'll go along to the next slide, which states the church's role, right? In the church's role in family. So we know that most of us are a part of a church, right? Most of us associate ourselves with a church. And we need our churches. We need a place, a sanctuary where we can go to as broken people that must come to church to get what we need to be better people. So the church provides a community needed for a family to grow in a healthy way. So for Adventists or Ghanaian Adventists, our church is everything to us. 8:30 at Sabbath school, right? We can stay at church all day until Vespers, right? Being mindful that our children are probably playing outside, not really getting the attention they need. But this is kind of what we are used to because of where we came from, right? And so our church is everything. And that could have some advantages and disadvantages, right? Our goal is to make it an advantage for our family, to grow in a healthy environment, both at home and at church. So some examples of advantages are utilizing the church as a reinforcement and enhancing what is being learned about Christ in our homes. For example, Sabbath school, Pathfinder, a vacation Bible school, all of those things are places where we go, we take our children so that what they learned at home can be reinforced at church, right? Let's be mindful of this. Our church is not the one that is, our church shouldn't be the place where we hear about God for the first time. Our children shouldn't be hearing about God for the first time at church. They should be hearing about God at home. And so when they go to Sabbath school, when they go to Pathfinder, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with this. You know, my mom was telling me this last time and I learned this story last time. If we rely solely on the church to take care or to raise our children, we're going to harm the church. And that's not fair to the organization, right? So some of the disadvantages that we see in our churches is abuse. Unfortunately, we see our children being emotionally and physically abused at some of our churches. We pray that none of our churches are experiencing this. But if they are, just know that it causes confusion. Our children start to feel like, well, if I can't trust anybody at church, why should I be there? Why should I have a relationship with my youth leader? Why should I have a relationship with the elders? Because the things that are happening in the church are not what is supposed to be seen. And so being mindful of all of that is highly imperative. So we'll move on to what we can do as a community, right? We're here to support our young people. We're here to support our families. We're here to support each other, creating a safe space. So that simply means being able to have conversations with people that are going through something and praying for them, relying or allowing them to rely on you and you rely on them, right? Avoiding conversating or having conversations about what someone told you, what they're going through. Gossip, simply put, gossip, avoiding that. Avoiding judging individuals for speaking the truth. A lot of times, as we know in our churches, we'll hear, oh, so-and-so will say when you're depression. Why are we having that conversation with someone who will not help, right? Depression, okay, how can you help them? What resources are there to support that individual, right? What are some of the underlying causes of the things that they're going through? It's not your job to investigate and allow a professional to do that, but pointing them to the right direction is so imperative as well. Asking how are you and listening to them. This is huge. How many times do we walk into church, oh, my man to say, and then the person's like, oh, yeah. And then you're just like, oh, yeah, then you're messy. And then you just go your way, not realizing where the person came from, where when the person said they're doing well, it came from a dark or a sad place. So talking to them, you said, oh, yeah, but I said, something is going on. Is everything okay? Can I pray with you? Can I have a conversation with you? Listening to them and being there for them is what we need. Don't assume that we don't have mental health problems, because we do. Our white brothers and sisters, our Caucasian brothers and sisters, they're quick to go to the doctor or see a therapist, but before that, we don't like to do those things, right? And so we think, oh, we ain't there, you need problems. Yeah, we do. We really, really do. So vocalize unfair treatment in the healthcare system, especially as Black people, we go to the doctor and it's like we don't really get the care that we need. In that case, I will even advise to find doctors, professionals that look like you. There's a lot of good professionals that are Black, are Ghanaian, if possible, right? Finding someone that looks like you so they understand where you're coming from. And this is not a must, it's just a suggestion if that's something that you would like to do. And so we'll go on to the next slide, which is our last slide, and we'll just talk about the reassurance in God's word. So Philippians 4:4-7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus." And Isaiah 4:10 also tells us, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God, and I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And last but not least, John 16:33 says, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world." Christ is telling us that we should come to him no matter what the situation is. Depression, anxiety, stress, you name it. We can go down the list in the DSM-5 of all of the mental health diagnoses. And this DSM book is so thick. But remember that God is even greater, and he can take away any pain, any stress, any agony that we are facing as Christians. And so I'm here to help us all, myself included, and remind us of how much God is here waiting for us to come knock at his door, and he will let us in. So thank you so much for allowing me to share a few words of how we can enrich our families, or how we can have healthier mental health within our families. And so at this time, I think it would be a good opportunity to ask questions, comments, and advice and things like that that will help us.
Yo, and yeah, that young sister Eunice said, wasan ede apa addition to say mu. And until Sabrea or Nona no see no, the yedru so young questions, young comments, any bibia yensu yebet media boama addition akonenim no. And on that Sabre yedru so until say, oh, asembi sebia, let me do this to be able to send a will be a bit to me on mute too. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I think at this time no. Obia or comment and question biano a quite or a bit to me a beside questions if I this year. Any comments be a person in the bell ma this year a custom a quiet the house break. Now, so you need to the answer na ABOB bebano. A bra or started with the family no. O make a comment back be na a family kakra me pese means maybe sana so chire me mu kakra. Okay, say as parents no. We have to do everything to help our children. Now, etime grow to a level but if they grow and they choose to take care of the parents, it is their choice. Honomono, me pesa ochire mu kakra. Me kano mienu number 1 ewo Ghana mu na yentwi mu ne yesese obi hwe o ma o sen fifia na ho nso ahwe na ma ne sen atutu. That is the tree. I can ba kwana Bible nso yebe mu ono nso say do unto others what you want them to do unto you. So if I'm a parent and I'm doing to my child to get to a level or no bit me I take care of Nehua, why wouldn't my child also have it in mind say he also do it to me when I'm also old and probably not able to take care of myself? Now and on the answer no what choice, but parents they need choices. So bit me cry.
Thank you. I'm so happy you asked this question because I'm sure a lot of people are like, they will No, that is a good point. And when I say our children have a choice, I mean it in the most I guess I mean it in a way that a lot of our parents feel say, I'm gonna raise you so you can take care of me. And if that's the case, you have to do this for me, you have to do this for me. When you present that idea to a child, you're putting pressure on them. So automatically the child is gonna be like, you didn't take care of me the way I should have been taken care of. So therefore, I don't think I will take care of you. Mind you, you've provided for them, you've given them food, you've done everything for them. But taking care of a child is more than the basic needs, right? Emotionally, were you connected to them? Did you have conversations with them? Naturally, our children, if our homes are healthy, if we have healthy homes, our children would love to take care of us. It would not even be a problem for them. But unfortunately, because of the unhealthy homes that we come from, a lot of the times our children don't want to, and then we force them. We make it seem like we make it seem like they are obligated to take care of us, but it shouldn't be that way. We put this pressure on them that just does not allow them to even want to care for us, care for their parents. But I think that it's important to raise your child in a home that is healthy. So naturally, when your child grows up, they're going to take care of you. They're going to make sure that your house is set, everything is taken care of. But if you instill in them, say, you have to do this for me when I become old because I've done this for you, it's like tick for tack. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be out of love, right? And so definitely, let me say, my parents, they took care of me, but my father would never tell me, say, Eunice, at this time, you have to take care of me. You have to give me money. No, he would never tell me. But me, because of the way my parents took care of me, if any money I get, I will give it to them. If I was to get millions of dollars right now, he will even refuse to take it. But because of the love that he instilled in my life as a child, my parents, naturally, I would want to take care of my home. Does that make sense a little bit?
Okay.
I hope it's
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that I could you meet me and work at
Yes. No.
Say in many situations we the Africans so we have a cultures. Now amamre no shape how obi label the life. So no ebibi fuomua semi uncle Jody can no ma me so anaso waja se o hwa ma osia fifi na nso ahwe na ma ne sia tutu nti saa na yaka tren na I don't know say the people who came up with this mentality no say African sometimes obi won what me on hwe ne ba wu pay say e ma na to adaka nti me who say the people who came up with this, I don't know, but again, we are in Kura. This is America, right? I am a warm one. That is not the kind of information at the moment. So, parent idiot, it is your responsibility to help. But optional or part. But again, if the relationship between the parent and the kids a good relationship, you don't even have to ask. Yeah. Willingly, they will do it. But we on one. or one bar or need to fear confusion kwa and a paha and I say this I play board to free if you crumple the papa and I send mammy and imbium because of the way our relationship netian. But there are so many people are say no money or more ja and that's one and tell me good no. They don't even ask willingly, they are always willing to help. But again, we maybe before let me say it that way. Because of that, culture ne ya mamrene idea ya can't you to say, oh ba as I say, share na money seen to na or no sabe to the point that sometimes even when you begin to talk about life insurance, there's a lot of pushback at the African settings because on no who say no who are a man SEC no, but say a more fun one when they die. Obu amodobuka no watia baby besi and what asas no etua all the insurance. I life insurance a man who are wukra sometimes the man benefit from scan. But all this kind of discussion, the moment of the before mono, there's a lot of pushback because who didn't as well, or life insurance no would not the man scan. Into I would say it is the culture and some kind of basic information via yenyan be a yini yans and yaba krumhan. And into what we have to know say yamana yabu krumhan. They are being brought up, even though they are Africans, but again they mingle with the whites and they mingle with people from different cultures. So they get other information, different sources. So sometimes they have to filter them. No man has not applied yet. I remember I said back in Ghana when I was growing up. You school echo cram, upper natural course acquire. And now your nurse, your doctor, you wait. But you realize that your back room has some imrophone. Sometimes they just give the idea of bomodin woman no push you no adding. No acquire. Bibini and as African one about so uncle in nurse, one like Opaso who say, oh, Nebani is Ukusmadi. But to be honest, in Kolani, one more than Bonanyate will be on the level. But Upaso for so Banoa or Baninitino, what the science ye. But Upaso for so more quiet science. Those of the Kusani GP Basa, and on the level no, we need interest for her. And then again, we the Africans, our culture have kind of impacted the way we think in some way. And even sometimes we struggle. So how we struggle with a lot of certain things. That's it.
Thank you.
Sister Eunice kasa ya memete na sene. E dia na meka saa da wo Ghana kra se. Why we saying that ye ma emehwe? So wo atumi ahwe obi a, wo betumi ahwe ho. Wo nyina aye wo nko a, wo no kunu pe. Body mienu kura mo de no aduane asom. Because what you measure bentu no wo baby te. Wanya dan etim. So wanya dan timu a ene kura yitu nsuo. Watu nsuo. Ade na wo hia biem a wo ba be hwe wo. Wo ba na fe no wonu so wasiso. Wonu so ba. Enti se wo no wo de osa bed se ebe ka ho biem. E na kura wo ni bed bia. Me de ye ka hwehwe nte se just come there. Now we feel good. Say me benye. Wabesram. Say the harbor for me yen. Me didn't so be a wabo brebia ye, you know. So wabeshow, so wabeshow same for Betebian and Namo na why ye juma into pension penny now or eba. Satam no uncocoa, managia. Unfosika ye de beer, ye na what you be another quite 9 dia. What does obey me at home? Because one of our woman a dude ye were drawn. Into one to tell wasi. Na asamne say question mark wo ye ho nipa awododo na ya wo no into ni bia wo bia wa turn into mani bia timika sadampo wansi bi into wo di bia no ya bua ne bana na bia school ana adwuma ene into wo so kwa na obie ni wa na dwumu da ho ne maame ene ne papa yese di aboa wo mo no hu se ba bia o mo tikransu onwunu gu yese a obeda na chi da. Into ya na nyesa ye ne yakon e ya ade a eno will come by itself naturally no obeba be hwe se bebe ma me danye or start here jumana bikro niba onye ni sa responsibility kese bia or hwe so obesiesie de ba bia ne papa ne maame atena because the wo mu na no bupuru ye no but unlike here no manya bibi na bia matodan kra na mu na mpo mutimu to bo so be use school me mai na kra ko na me dan kra sa aka mitumi sa de bi ma han enti to me hwa me anti de omo ya ne say just come to me lunch time bi birthday bi occasion bi sa ne man attachment no omo ebisa show concern but nya hwe se wo disika na bibi be ye because wo bi dada and at that time na ka wonko a nti se watumi ahwe nipa nan me won kola nan de metumi ahwe nipa nan ne ade wi afi aka me ne me kunu pay and na ye ntumi hwe ye ho aha nti me de that is in the way understand it in that way that must
Very good. Thank you so much.
Yo, mama, edase o unchire munso aboa mpa mpacho se obi nso asembisa fofora na se emoa bi ode boa disua ya ekwan da ho.
Yeah, Uncle James said, "Miss Andy Kakakan." He said, "Additional." Yeah, the general aspect of the topic was how your mental health plays roles in your bushing.
Yes.
Now, I know that I've done quite some few presentations, so I do it now. I said, emotional support, you're free, and I say you're free. We get emotional support from Nipaho. Now, mental health here at the area sometimes, if especially when it comes to the emotions aspect now. So Nipa na nkasa or go through sadness, one voice in one can it's difficult for you to dictate. Unless you say Nipa, then you begin to observe some changes in the mood and answer the subani name. But the ones that can find a way to cope and answer difficult for you to identify. Omona santo omona na mani bia commit suicide ne ade ade mega say we dey bibia anya no na ba ne san na wakunu wi because na all go through a lot and sometimes will be anywhere on the bedding komo. And again this comes down to parents. Sometimes we tend to focus too much on Yuma and pay less attention to your man. Because we are always not available for them to talk to us about what is going on or mabra boom and they are the identity. Sometimes they believe say because parents now they feel say they are the immediate people they can share their concerns with. No, they are always not available when no more Juma. And sometimes they feel say if we have something they say nobody cares about them. Or more sometimes they tend to commit suicide a lot. Into again, some of these things it was never discussed. Because the moment you bring the topics about mental illness now, so we kind of attach some stigma to it. Will be a new one as a ferry across or out but in a big issue where the government is still fighting because many people have done so many violent and as a cruel things, and it all comes down to some aspect of mental health. In the idea, almost every single time the idea or more bomb the room. The 3 year yabakum hey. Yes, sir. Even though you're basic apedie, but again, we have to find time to make sure say the mental health aspects in the bushing we are addressing it. Sometimes it's not the you have to seek the support from a therapist. Sometimes one as a family head, you can talk to people to resolve issues. Sometimes it's just about communication, just simple communication, and everything will be resolved. But again, the relationship that we have in the house, sometimes they pretend, but when they go home, especially people who live in the house, that they have some abusers, people who are living in the house and domestic violence. Just in a way to save the bushia and okay papa ye that part my man na okay say oja ebia wo free fie na ne mano they kind of consider so many things and they try to stick around. But again, at the end of the day, it kind of have a lot of impact when it comes to the mental health aspect now. And internet sometimes we be who be no what to car, not their family concern and saying who can use on now. I want to say kind of a bonus to your and started prepared. It started at one point and it get to a point that no, I fed up, then they explode, and that is what we see. So again, additional my seeing ya sister actually come my we should all try say we will listen and a bit to me the about with you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the market say that was Mr. Eunice, where they may sign about na yeah, practical a big crabby say funny say yeah your platform is on your clients yeah about when with mental health issue abia senya let's say near man ejuma say ntiama NMF kosu mitrim it will be a befienti a whole lot of things are going on practically a day asam na yeti wanimu a obeka kyerɛ yɛn ana obɛyɛ ama yɛn a yɛbɛ free wo hɔ no mo akɔ no yɛbɛ feel said that kind of stress and pressure no yɛde baayɛ no yɛ relieving no ansana yɛ free wo hɔ no mo akɔ. Is there something I bet me across within that time or not ever back waiting for counseling?
Sure. So this is a very good question as well. Let's also understand that it won't take just one session to help someone, right? Mm-hmm. And I always tell my clients that as a therapist, we're not here to remove the problem, but we're here to help and support you in making decisions that are healthy for you. So if I have someone come into my office that is facing job loss, there's a series of assessments that will need to be taken, right, in order to identify, okay, he's lost his job. This is probably situational. But I also want a history. So we look at biopsychosocial, which simply means I need to know if there's any medical history, any psychological issues that you've been through in the past. Has there been any diagnoses, medical or mental health diagnoses that you've experienced? After all of that is said and done, we'll set up a plan, right? Like a treatment plan. What is next? Talking about, I need you to come in. We need to see you let's say twice a week or once a week. Let us process some of the things that you've experienced. There's different forms of counseling, or different forms of treatment. So there's something called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Simply put, helping the person understand the emotions that they're experiencing and how it reflects in their behavior, right? And then we have other forms of treatment that are also referred to as DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. So there's like a series of treatment that we will have to go through. And this is not like physical, like a doctor, right? But we will also have to make sure, say, okay, if this person is experiencing job loss and as a result, he's dealing with depression, I would also want to make sure that there's a psychiatrist that is doing an evaluation to see if the person may need medication. Right. So there's different medications, Prozac, Zoloft, things like that, that can also help the individual, because mental health issues is also a chemical imbalance. And so they need medication to help stabilize them. Right. It depends on their situation. You'll be on a medication. Right. It's probably the best thing to see a therapist first to hear what is going on, what kind of issues or symptoms are being seen, and then you'll kind of take it from there. So it's not a one-day treatment, unfortunately, but it's a series of sessions that will have to go through. I mean, I know people that have been in counseling for years and years and years. They stop, they go, they stop, they go, because as humans, there's a lot of things that happen in our life that will cause us to go back in for treatment. And so we'll do these series of treatment depending on what the diagnosis is, and then we'll kind of take it from there. But really helping the individual manage their emotions in an effective way. So let's say they get angry and they start to hit their wife or hit their husband. Obviously that's domestic violence, that's a safety issue. But let's say they just don't know how to control their anger. We'll talk about different ways on how to effectively understand your emotions and display them in a healthy way. It's a lot of stuff that would have to be taken care of, but there's definitely a series of things.
So maybe now I'm beginning to understand why Ghana for down empathy because I see once you start, no, it's probably not going to end so quick as Ghana for and I say moving on. A solution in intention. It is I think I may be Baba, you know, be a bosom, it's a now kind of baby and now say psychologically. So yes, people might also read a lot of things into it, but I think.
But I also want to say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just want to say, if you have high blood pressure, you're going to go see your doctor, at least, especially if they diagnose you with hypertension. You go see your doctor frequently, right? So let us not disassociate mental health with physical health. Okay. It's the same thing. It's dealing with the mind, so it will take time.
Okay. If also being so asembisa na say mwebia things additionally a very good my auntie. So be o hwa onso pese obisa na o kan ekwan da ho. Okay. It is komu ya bana entiase aye juma obi ani asembisa bia mudia na yɛbɛhwɛ sɛ yɛde ɛnadesua no bɛbɛ awie yɛnsɛ mmerɛ no bebree sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ a yɛbɛtumi anya mmerɛ na ɔtwe sɛ nnɛ ɛbrɛ so a yɛnyinaa yɛbɛsan atumi aba nti sɛ Eunice yɛda wo ase na mama kwan na afei in summary sɛ biribi wɔ hɔ a wopɛ sɛ woka ansa na yɛde ɛnɛ adwumadie no aba awie a yɛde aba awie.
Okay, I hope that everything that was said was understood. And I pray that whatever we discuss here, we're able to apply it in our lives. We're living in this world, we're lost humans, but it's only through the grace of God that can help us and guide us in every walk and every step. So thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak on this platform.
Yo, and yeah, Diane sister Eunice as a pa, so the what I ever betray idea say I mean so we are a be here say ye be another follow-up by be a boxna yet to me at say a near money be as more ye because it will be a horn very limited when it comes to health. Now can I say then and as a doctor I guess in a neck I say your organ and ye could school parents they choose my near the TV or how could she grown to me and so now she trust me. I thank God seven mommy and papa when choose some in courts health field and go with yeah and see a idea also yes you no yeah man and I think say Ghana and Krum we some of us are Martin said we still do. Everybody wants another doctor canon, but to be a medical doctor or a nurse or something and son who said the investment and as a cow or a banner and yaquapat. Say open at the anoma and more franny a manoa. They will do baby a more non so any interest no wow non so bit me a year a man and faso abaswa my in 90. Ye more na senia or can ye man communication and ye open na intimate and direct me instead of maybe forcing them to do certain things be na omuntiminson and unti yeda was yeda ene adofwa ebaye ebetie adesua na abeboama aba ewiye asumdue mu nso nyina ase enunti onyame enka ye nyina ye ho ebebo mpaye na ye de ene adesua na nso aba ewiye ti mesrese uma ye mo mpaye eja kronkron sabre uma ye sign akase asedan county ye da wase pa se ode ye sister Eunice eba ya adesua so ene na wasama na ba be pie adesua fire mental health nso bi mu akyerɛ yenim sɛ unyame onam so de besiesie amanepa eno nti yɛde no ɛhyɛ wo nsa sɛ nea wode no ɛyɛ bia no hyira no na hyira enipa ɛka ne ho ne ɔmo yɛ adwuma yi nyinaa na enwie yi yɛn so a na ɔtwe bia yɛba betie adesua na yɛde yɛ adwene ne yɛ nyansa ahoa na yɛsɛ sɛ kɔso na hwɛ yɛ nyinaa so ɛma bɔne bia nte yɛ mu bia kosi sɛ wadom nti na ɔtwe sɛ ne yɛbɛsan ba ne yɛbɛtoa so ne a wode bɛma yɛn bia ho ɛwɔ Kristo Yesu din mu ne asrɛ wo. Amen. Okay. Yo, interne nuanom yɛde nyame da yɛ nyinaa yɛ ho ase ɛnɛ adesua no nso abawie onyame nka yɛ nyinaa ho kosi sɛ na ɔtwe sɛ ne yɛbɛsan ba ne yɛbɛtoa so ti yɛde ɛnɛ die asi ha yi a yɛda mo ase.